Dru Sjodin was born on September 26, 1981, in Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. Since childhood, she loved to draw. After graduating from school, the girl moved to Grand Forks, North Dakota. Dru entered the university, choosing the direction: fine arts. In 2003, 22-year-old Dru was combining studies and 2 jobs. During the day, the girl worked as a salesperson in a large shopping center. She worked in the women's department of Victoria's Secret. In the evening, Dru worked as a waitress at the El Rocco bar. The girl had a dream. She wanted to go on a trip to Australia. She saved most of the money she earned for the trip. Dru planned to make her dream come true in the spring of 2004. While working 2 jobs and studying at the university, Dru managed to play sports. She preferred volleyball and golf. The young artist, Dru Soden, was fond of photography and loved to draw. The girl's hobbies did not end there. She found time and energy for another important role. Dru was involved in charity work. She was a volunteer and helped children from low-income families. The girl taught children to read and write. She walked with them, sometimes organized entertainment events, and took them bowling. She also helped raise money for the American Diabetes Association. Almost everyone in the city of Grand Forks knew Dru Sjodin. The girl even had a nickname, Doodle. Doodles are quick sketches that are usually drawn in notebooks. They are characterized by cartoonishness. Such quick drawings do not carry deep meaning. A young girl in love with life attracted people with her lightness and kind smile. No one could have imagined what kind of torment Dru Sjodin would experience. November 22, 2003, was an ordinary Saturday day. There were a lot of people at the Columbia Mall where Dru worked. Some of the visitors were making purchases, while others were simply strolling lazily around the building. On this day, Dru was working at a Victoria's Secret retail outlet. She sold lingerie, swimwear, accessories, and cosmetics. At 16, Dru's working hours came to an end. The girl finished her shift and decided to walk around the shopping center. She wanted to buy herself a new wallet. Quite quickly, Dru found what she was looking for. Having bought the wallet, the girl hurried to the exit. At 17, Dru Sjodin left the shopping center and headed to the parking lot where her Oldsmobile Cutlass was located. As the girl walked to the car, she called her boyfriend, Chris Lang. 4 minutes after their conversation began, Chris heard a noise on the phone. The call ended. The guy immediately called Dru back, but no one answered him. In the evening, the girl was supposed to go to work at the bar, but she didn't show up. Colleagues called Dru on the phone. Nobody answered them. Colleagues called Chris Lang. The guy said that he was also looking for Dru. After this, the bar workers called the police and reported that the girl was missing. The police called Chris Lang. The guy said that he did not meet with Dru that day. But at 5 p.m., he spoke to her on the phone. At that moment, the girl was walking into the parking lot from the shopping center. Their call was abruptly interrupted. Chris heard Dru say to someone, "Okay, okay." Then he heard a noise. The guy thought that the girl had dropped her phone. Chris thought the phone was broken, so Dru couldn't call back. Chris didn't suspect anything strange. Their conversation with Dru was normal and calm. The girl's mood was good and upbeat. She wasn't upset. But then something strange happened. At 8 p.m., Chris received a call from Dru's phone. Picking up the phone, the guy heard noise, interference, and a sound as if someone was pressing telephone buttons. Police went to the Columbia Mall, where the missing girl worked. They found her car in the parking lot. There was a black, empty knife case lying near the car. The officers immediately assumed that Dru Sjodin had been kidnapped. The police sent a request to the cellular operator. It turned out that the girl's mobile phone is located near the city of Crookston, Minnesota. The evening call to Chris was made not far from this place. An active search for Dru Sjodin began. The police were joined by hundreds of volunteers who wanted to help. 3 days have passed. Detectives found one of the girl's shoes. The shoe was lying near the road near Crookston. Dru herself was nowhere to be found. The investigation continued. Detectives carefully reviewed CCTV footage from the mall. They found a suspicious person. The dark-haired man wandered around the center, did not make any purchases. He sat on a bench near the exit and watched other people. The man became interested in a pretty blonde who was heading towards the exit. When the woman left the building, he stood up and slowly followed her, trying not to attract attention to himself. It became clear to detectives that this man might be involved in the girl's disappearance. The search for Dru Sjodin continued. Detectives focused on the area where the girl's shoe was found. Police interviewed local Crookston residents and obtained important information. It turned out that a criminal lived in this city who was released from prison just 6 months ago. His name is Alfonso Rodriguez. There were witnesses who confirmed that they had seen this man in the city of Grand Forks. He was there on November 22nd, the day Drew disappeared. Detectives found photographs of former inmate Alfonso Rodriguez. Detectives compared them with photographs of the suspicious man from the shopping center. A striking similarity was discovered. Alfonso Rodriguez grew up in a migrant family. Starting at the age of 20, he began using illegal substances. When the guy was 21 years old, he committed his first serious crime. Alfonso attacked the woman with a knife. She survived and went to the police. Rodriguez spent several years in prison. When he was released, he continued to commit crimes of an intimate nature. He kidnapped women and used them. Fortunately, all of his victims remained alive. Alfonso Rodriguez has been prosecuted several times. The man spent 23 years behind bars. He was released from prison on May 1, 2003. Rodriguez was considered a Level 3 dangerous offender. It is important to note that several months before his release, Alfonso Rodriguez approached prison guards. He said he was worried about his upcoming release. Alfonso said that he was afraid to return to a society where there were many women. His mother was also concerned about her son being released from prison. The woman was afraid that new victims might appear. The mother contacted Minnesota Department of Corrections officials, but Alfonso was released May 1st. On December 1st, police located 50-year-old Alfonso Rodriguez at his mother's home in Crookston. The man stated that he knew nothing about the disappearance of Dru Sjodin. He claimed that he had nothing to do with it. Alfonso confirmed that he was on November 22nd at the shopping center where the girl worked. He said that he went there to visit the cinema. The detectives asked him what movie he was watching. Alfonso replied that the film was called Once Upon a Time in Mexico. The man allowed his Mercury Sable car to be checked. Inside the cabin, police found a second Dru Sjodin shoe and cleaning product. Inside the bottle, detectives found a folding knife that matched the sheath found near Drew's car. Detectives found the check. Rodriguez made a purchase at a store located near the shopping center where Drew worked. Alfonso bought 2 knives from the hardware store. He made the purchase a few weeks before the girl disappeared. Immediately after examining the car on December 1st, 50-year-old Alfonso Rodriguez was arrested and charged with the kidnapping of Dru Sjodin. He still denied any involvement. Forensic teams re-examined Rodriguez's vehicle. They found blood inside the car, on the back seat, and on the glass. This blood belonged to the missing girl. Detectives checked the theater to confirm or deny Alfonso's story. It turned out that on November 22nd, none of the cinemas showed the film. Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Dru Sjodin's parents hoped to find their daughter alive. Every day the chances became less and less. The new year 2004 has arrived. No one still knew where the girl was or what happened to her. Spring has come. The snow has melted. On April 17, 2004, the body of 22-year-old Dru Sjodin was found. She was lying in a ravine near the town of Crookston, Minnesota. This place had already been searched earlier, but no one could find the girl under the thick snow. Dru was lying face down. She was naked from the waist down. Her hands were tied behind her back. The girl's pink sweater was torn in the front. There was a rope around Dru's neck. Residues of polyethylene were found under the rope, indicating that a bag had been placed over the girl's head. The body of the deceased showed multiple injuries and 2 deep cuts on the neck. The medical examiner determined that Dru had sexual intercourse after death. Forensic experts found several foreign hairs on the girl's body as well as other biological materials. All of them belonged to the detained Alfonso Rodriguez. An experienced forensic expert with more than 25 years of experience was unable to establish the exact cause of death of Dru Sjodin. The forensic expert made several assumptions. The specialist believed that most likely the girl died as a result of knife wounds to the neck. She had 2 wounds measuring 16 and 9 centimeters. The forensic expert also suggested that Dru might have been strangled with a rope. Another cause of death could have been a plastic bag that was on the girl's head. Dru's body had many bruises and scratches. All this indicated that there was a real struggle between the victim and the criminal. The forensic expert also put forward a theory that the girl simply froze in the snow, since she did not have the strength to get up and call for help. She could lie on the ground for several hours. This version turned out to be the least likely. According to the medical examiner, Alfonso Rodriguez strangled Dru Sjodin in his car. He then drove her across the border to another state. He threw Dru into a ravine, wounded him in the neck, and then took advantage of the girl. If he had stabbed her in the car, there would have been traces of blood everywhere inside the car. Having done this in a ravine, Alfonso placed Dru's body face down. All the blood flowed down and accumulated underground. None of the criminologists gave exact information at what exact moment the girl died. Was the murder committed in Rodriguez's car in northern Dakota, or did the murder take place in a ravine in Minnesota? The future fate of Alfonso Rodriguez depended on the answer to this question, since different laws were in force in different states. Ultimately, prosecutors decided Rodriguez drove Dru, still alive, across state lines and killed her in a ravine. He was charged in federal court. The man who still denied his guilt faced the death pen. Shirley Iverson spoke in defense of Dru Sjodin at the trial. This woman was one of Alfonso Rodriguez's first victims. A man attacked Shirley back in 1974. The woman argued that the names of serial criminals cannot be kept secret. People should know them by sight and beware. The disappearance and murder of Dru Sjodin received widespread media coverage throughout the United States. In 2006, the State Register of Persons Who Committed Sexual Offenses was created. The registry provides information on the whereabouts of such offenders regardless of state, territory, or other boundaries. The murder of Dru Sjodin changed the way Minnesota deals with those convicted of such crimes. Some prisoners were sent to sex addiction treatment programs. In the fall of 2006, the federal court found Alfonso Rodriguez guilty of the kidnapping and murder of Dru Sjodin. In the spring of 2007, the jury unanimously sentenced the man to death. It was the first time the death penalty was imposed in North Dakota and Minnesota in over a century. It was a difficult decision for the judge, and for Alfonso, it was the worst day of his life. After the verdict was announced, Rodriguez's lawyers immediately requested a new trial. They were immediately refused. The lawyers filed an appeal and asked to postpone the execution of the sentence until the appeal was considered. In October 2011, Alfonso's defense attorneys filed a federal complaint alleging that the man was mentally retarded. 10 years after the murder of Dru Sjodin, in June 2013, Rodriguez, while on death row, admitted his guilt for the first time in a conversation with a psychiatrist. This confession prompted Alfonso's lawyers to file a petition against the death sentence. Defense attorneys argued that Rodriguez was not in control of his mind at the time of the crime. In September 2021, a federal judge overturned Rodriguez's death sentence. The man's lawyers were able to prove that the forensic expert who worked on the Dru Sjodin case in 2004 provided inaccurate conclusions about how the girl actually died. The judge found that Alfonso Rodriguez was undoubtedly to blame for Dru's death. The judge agreed that there were grave errors in the investigation that violated the United States Constitution. The judge demanded a new trial. Alfonso Rodriguez's actual conviction was not overturned, so the 70-year-old remains behind bars. It is known that he is in the Terre Haute prison in Indiana. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel.